What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Cool Comics Show. This episode will be a little different as we are going to only be focused on the premiere of Moon Knight. I am joined by my co host, HG Damien, aka Damien.
I was trying to do hand symbols and then I lost it halfway through what I was doing.
And I am, of course, Mr. E, aka Galactic Mr. E.
No, it's Galactic Mr. E, aka Mr. E, aka E.
Exactly. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is our first impressions of Moon Knight, and then we're going to hop into kind of what takes place during the episode and what we expect to see going forward. Damien, did you want to kick that off?
Yeah. So, as E said, this is for our Moon Knight show. I wanted to note Moon Knight, for anyone who doesn't know, it's it's Marvel's newest Disney Plus show. I looked it up. I just actually looked it up just now. Created by Jeremy Slater. So it looks like he was the writer for the Fantastic Four movie that came out recently that I still haven't seen. So, overall first impressions, I enjoyed it. I think for like before we get into like the plot stuff, but like for the first part of the episode, I felt like there wasn't a lot happening, and then it really kicked off. But I don't know anything about Moon Knight, and this got me excited for it. I was like, okay, cool. This seems like something a little bit different. I do think it was interesting on how they were playing with the kind of multiple personalities thing. So overall, I thought it was fun. I liked some of the music stuff that we're using, and I'm curious to see what direction this character is going to go into. I like at one point when Marvel was announcing all these shows and all these projects, I was like, at what point are we going to not really, I guess, care about some of these characters? But this one got me interested in it, so looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I am definitely excited for it. I also don't know too much about Moon Knight. I do know a little bit about him. Also looked some stuff up as well. But going back to the creator, Jeremy Slater. So I was very skeptical about it going in because he has been the writer on a few movies of note that did not necessarily do well. Fantastic Four, and also the Netflix Death Note as well. Yes, the live action Death Note is something he is noted for as well. However, he was also a writer on Umbrella Academy as well.
Oh, was he?
So that gives me a little more faith in this project because Umbrella Academy is pretty good, which we'll be talking about that in a later episode because that will be coming back soon as well. But back to Moon Knight. So I'm really excited about it. They did change a few things up from the comic book as well. So Stephen Grant in the comic books is a Playboy millionaire. So it is interesting that they made him just kind of this regular guy. And
Just a dude.
he's just some dude. And
Honestly, he's getting kind of fucked in his life. Honestly,
he is getting fucked in his life, and it's going to create this interesting dynamic that I don't think we've seen in the comic books before, because he deals with DID or dissociative identity disorder. So Stephen Grant is supposed to be the socialite person.
Really?
So he's got more of this the high crime. And then his other personality, which we didn't really get a look of, we had some Easter eggs of him in the first episode, but his other personality is Jake Lockley, who is this like PI character. So you have Stephen Grant for the high crimes and you have Jake Lockley for the street crimes, basically. But with them making Stephen Grant this, regular guy, it's going to change up the dynamics of his different personalities a bit as well.
Hello, and welcome to Staying Awake.
I have a sleeping disorder. I can't tell the difference between my waking life and dreams.
Hello, and welcome to Staying Awake.
so what were some of the like I guess some of the biggest changes, because I don't know anything about the character from the comics. So what were like some big changes from the comic to the show?
Also, the villain is a big change as well, because Arthur Harrow, I think is how it's pronounced. In the comics, he's basically nobody. He's like a mad scientist
Oh, the
that's
guy with the glass in his shoes.
yeah, he's like a mad scientist that's doing human experiments in the comic books.
Yeah,
Pretty low level villain. And on the other hand, you have Amit, which is a uh,
that was a
Egyptian
goddess, right?
god. So in the comics, basically, Anbu would, weigh the hearts if it was a good soul. They'd move on to the
Oh,
rest
so
of
is
the
that what he's
afterlife.
doing with like the scale thing when he's like testing the
Hmm.
people? Okay.
Yeah, and when it's an impure soul, that's when Amit would come in and devour that soul, so they could no longer move forward in the
Yeah.
afterlife. That's one of the major changes is that the bad guy is kind of this melting pot of bad guys from the comic book. Also, them doing the story through the eyes of Stephen Grant is also kind of a big change because Stephen Grant is not
Is
the
usually
main
it's usually a guy named
personality.
Mark, right? Or
Yes, correct. Mark is the original personality
okay.
who actually has the backstory. Stephen Grant is one of the
Mark Spector.
one of the personalities. So I don't know. They kind of leave it open ended. They don't
Ooh,
really tell
so
you who the main personality is.
yeah,
You're led to believe
it's
that it's Stephen
Steven.
Grant, but that could just be part of Mark's mission. We don't really know, and I'm sure we'll find out later in the series how they're going to
Yeah.
play it. But I like that they left that open ended as well.
I wonder if, because I'm looking at this here, it looks like there's 6 episodes, they'll be released weekly. I wonder if throughout the series it'll become where Mark essentially takes over and it just becomes Mark's life and it becomes the character people know from the comics.
It's
Because
possible.
yeah, like looking at, I'm just brought up a brief synopsis of the episode because I forget a lot of this stuff. Yeah, Steven is not living a good life. He works at the museum. He suffers from blackouts and he has to like tie himself up to the bed. I did see someone say like there was a line he says about like, oh, something about having leg ties on a bed. Like he's like, surely that's a red flag, talking about dating. And people were
Mhm.
like, I trust you, it is not a red flag. But yeah, he's living it pretty rough, and
Mhm.
like he misses his date with that girl because he's constant blackouts.
Yeah.
And going to what I mentioned earlier, in the first part of the episode, like the first half or so, you get like a tease of his blackouts, right? Like every time it blacks out, it'll cut away, and
Mhm.
then it kind of comes to a point where he's driving down. Is it the Alps or wherever they are, where
Mhm.
he's running from those bad guys, and it keeps cutting out. And when I was
Mhm.
watching it, I was like, man, this is a cool concept, but I do kind of want to see the part where he's blacked out and he's beating people's ass. Like I wanted to
Yeah.
see that. And you get
Mhm.
that at the end of the episode. So I think obviously with it being episode 1, they were teasing it, and hopefully as these episodes go on, they continue to show like, okay, when he blacks out, but this is now Mark taking over or whoever.
Mhm.
Kind of going into that.
Yeah, I definitely believe as the series goes on, we are going to come back to that point and kind of fill in the plot holes, because I think, like they said, they want you to be confused,
Yeah.
So they're showing you the story through Stephen Grant's eyes, but all of the action is happening through Mark's eyes.
Through
So
Mark,
I
yeah.
I feel like we are going to get to a point in the series where the script kind of flips, and then we're going to find out that Mark has actually been in the lead this whole time, and you kind of see glimpses of that in the first episode, because as you said, Stephen is doing all this thing because he thinks he's suffering from some kind of sleep disorder.
Yeah.
So he's stopping himself from quote unquote walking in his sleep. He's got the leg chain on. He puts the tape on the door
Tape on the
so he
door,
can
yeah.
tell if he's left or not. But you can
And then the
clearly
sand around
see,
his bed
yeah,
too.
the sand around his bed. But you can clearly see that Mark knows about all of these things that Stephen is doing and trying to keep Stephen in a state of disbelief by putting the tape back on the door.
Yeah.
He's locking his leg back up. And he even went as far as to buy a new goldfish, which
Goldfish,
I
yeah.
thought was pretty
What they
funny.
named the episode Goldfish Problem.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting to say that too, because Mark also has that phone, and
Hmm.
with that girl Layla, which I don't know if it's a character from the comics. I'm assuming it is, and she becomes kind of a big part of it. But yeah,
There's
I didn't think about
speculation.
it that way, where Mark does have a life, and But I guess, yeah, it would be interesting to see because Steven has a job and they know him as Steven.
Mm.
Well, she calls him like
Yeah,
Stevie or something like that, making fun of him.
yeah, but Mark is also the one that started the date with the girl that he
Oh,
also
that's
Mark was the one
true.
because
Oh, I
if
didn't even
you
think about
remember,
that.
yeah, if you remember the conversation between Steven and the manager,
His boss, yeah.
she alludes to Steven being a
Yeah,
vegetarian,
she's like, you're a
so that's
vegetarian, go to
why
steakhouse.
that's why it was funny for the
That's
steakhouse, and so
interesting.
you show that Mark is kind of taking control of Steven's normal life as well.
Because that girl, she was
Um,
like a tour guide or something, right? Like she was part of
mhm,
the museum. Yeah.
correct, yeah. So they work
Wow, that's
together. So
crazy.
Mark has been in Steven's job, and I think we're going to see more of that as well. Because of course we still don't know what happened to the scarab, but we know that there's this key, which
Hmm.
we're guessing goes to some sort of storage chamber. If you
Well, he took
remember
the
from
scarab,
the
right? When he was on that drive, when he was running
yeah,
away from? Yeah.
so Steven and Mark had the scarab.
Yeah.
So, but we don't see what happened to it because we just cut to Steven waking up and missing a day of
Oh,
his
yeah, yeah,
life.
yeah. That's true, true, true.
So yeah, so I like that the series is kind of they're giving you all the details, but in
Mm,
this kind of reversed scenario situation.
yeah.
So it really kind of keeps you on your toes, and I really like that. It kind of feels like detective. Every scene you have more questions, and they're
Yeah.
not in any hurry to answer any of them. Of course, since it's the first episode.
Yeah.
And then I really liked all of the iconography throughout the episode as
Yep.
well. You had Arthur Harrow had his crocodile cane, which Emmett, the god that he's an avatar
Crocodile
for,
God, right?
has a crocodile head.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can kind of see Mark walking past those same crocodiles in the museum scenes here and
Mm,
there. And then there's, of course, a lot of reflection iconography as well. And every time you see Stephen or Mark's reflection, you see two
just two of them.
other
Yeah.
reflections to indicate, Mark
Which
and Jake Lockley as well.
what'd you think about his accent?
You know, it wouldn't have been my first choice, but but
That
it is what it is.
that's why I think
Um,
like Mark may become the primary like personality because I don't think they would have him do that accent for all 6 episodes.
I don't think so, but also it is interesting that it's taking place in London as
Yeah,
well,
that's true.
because we had the Eternals in London. We have in the Eternals, they teased Black Knight,
Hmm.
who is in Midnight Suns
Yeah.
with Moon Knight, also taking place in London. And then the Blade movie is also supposed to take place in London as
Dude, I
well, who
can't
is
wait for
also part of
Blade. It's
that
gonna be
team.
so good.
Yeah, so I feel like Marvel is kind of they haven't made any like official announcements for Midnight Suns, but I feel like they are leading up to it, especially since we'll be getting Iron Fist back at
Yeah.
some point in the future as well. He's
Hmm.
part of that team as well, so
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting. It's a very strong start to the
Yeah.
series.
I think overall it was a good start. Like I said, not a lot happened in the first half, but then it's obviously introduction to the character and the backstory. I feel like with it being six episodes, it's gonna kick off like very quickly. Like a lot of stuff's gonna start happening, and Layla's gonna
Hmm.
get involved, Mark's gonna get involved, and a lot of this crazy stuff's gonna really start getting crazy. But that was our
Hmm.
first impression for Moon Knight. I think it's definitely worth a watch. I'm with this character, with me not knowing nothing about it, I was more looking forward to it than I was like say Hawkeye, a character that I've seen in the movies. So
Yeah.
I think it'll be worth the watch. Next episode comes out April 6th. We're gonna try to do this every week as these episodes come out. We're also doing this in tandem with Young Justice that just came back, which we're gonna record right after this. So if you guys want to know about Young Justice, that video should be up shortly after this one, I assume, if I can get to editing right away. But thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and also follow us on Twitter. We're pretty active on there. We talk about everything that we're doing in our lives on Twitter. And
True.
we'll see you guys in the next one. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.